Congratulations, you've just woken up in the year 1290 BC. The good news, you're alive and a noble. The bad news, you're sharing your bed with a colony of fleas. Your mattress is a half-rotted papyrus mat stuffed with dried grass and feathers that smells like a mix of hay and a dusty attic. It's like your bed is an old mattress from a thrift store, but way worse. You blink awake, and the first thing you notice is a thick blanket of dust and cobwebs in every corner of your room. It's like stepping into a long, unopened attic. Only this is where you sleep every night. The humidity is oppressive, and your throat feels like it's coated in sandpaper. You step out of bed onto the floor, which is a mixture of mud and straw packed, so tightly it feels like stepping into a swamp every time you take a step. Your toes squish into the floor with every move. The air is thick with the smell of sweat and the faint, sweet aroma of incense from the temple nearby. But here's what nobody expected. You feel like you're sinking into the ground just by standing up. Your home is a massive palace compound, but your personal quarters are a cramped space with walls made of brick and plaster that are more prone to cracking than a cheap vase. As you shuffle towards the window to let in some light, you hear the distant sound of a reed flute and the rhythmic clapping of workers breaking the morning silence. It's the Egyptian version of a morning work call, but imagine it's as irritating as a construction site outside your bedroom window. The stakes are high. Your morning routine isn't just about getting dressed. It's about maintaining your status and avoiding the scrutiny of your servants and fellow nobles. One wrong move, and you could lose your reputation, your wealth, and possibly your life. But probably not. You notice a small, ornate bowl of dried figs and dates next to your bed. It's your morning snack, but it's also a stark reminder of what's to come. You can already feel the anticipation of the feast, but the thought of the lavish but potentially lethal banquet ahead makes your stomach churn. What could possibly go wrong at a noble's feast? But here's the twist. You have no idea what challenges await you at the dining table. And that's all before you even get dressed. Your bed is a masterpiece, with a canopy of intricate carvings and a mattress stuffed with the finest feathers from far-off lands. But the moment you try to sit up, you're hit with a wave of nausea. You blink your eyes and look around, wondering why you feel so lightheaded. You have two choices: ignore the queasiness and get dressed like a hero, or admit defeat and call for a physician. You decide to put on your best robe and pretend everything is fine. But here's the thing. You feel dizzy because the air is thick with the scent of myrrh and frankincense, and the room is filled with smoke from the incense burners. It's like waking up in a cloud factory, only with less oxygen. You stumble to your feet, feeling like you're walking on a trampoline. It's like your legs are made of lead, and your head is full of helium. The floor is tiled with marble, but it feels like stepping on ice cubes. You grab for the door frame, but it's slippery with the oil used to keep the wood from cracking in the dry desert air. You catch yourself just in time, but it's clear you're not the only one who's had a close call. But here's what nobody expected. The oil isn't there to make the floor slippery. It's actually there to keep the dust down. And just when you thought you were going to get away with a quick exit, you hear a commotion from the hallway. Your handmaidens are rushing in with trays of food. You'd think it was a buffet, but maybe it's a sacrifice. Actually, it's your breakfast. Everything changed when you stepped out of bed. You thought you were getting ready for the day, but you're about to discover what happens when you eat like an ancient Egyptian noble. And that's all before you even taste the food. But you're already sweating. The question is, how will you handle the flavors of the pharaoh? You take a bite of a fish that's been marinated in vinegar, honey, and a secret blend of spices. It's like a culinary acid test, where you're not supposed to blink until it's over. But here's the thing. Your taste buds rebel at the first bite, and you start to wonder if you're in for a night of culinary torture. You'd think it was like a modern sushi roll with hints of sesame and wasabi. Maybe it's like a fancy Italian dish with a secret ingredient that only the chef knows. Actually, it's a fish that's been pickled in a concoction of vinegar, honey, and a mixture of herbs and spices that probably came from a garden the size of your living room. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, you notice that the servants are offering you a dish that looks suspiciously like a pile of dark, lumpy gruel. It's served in a golden bowl, but that doesn't change its questionable appearance. You're about to ask for a description, but your servant smiles and nods to the dish as if it's a rare delicacy. You take a small spoonful and bring it to your lips. It's warm and surprisingly sweet. But here's the thing. It's honey barley gruel, a staple of the Egyptian diet, but you're not used to the texture or taste. You think it's like a modern oatmeal, with a hint of sweetness and a warm, comforting feel. Maybe it's like a thick, creamy porridge that you'd eat on a cold winter morning. Actually, it's more like a bowl of paste that's been sitting out for a few days. Everything changes when you realize that the ancient Egyptians didn't have the same concept of food safety and freshness that you're used to. They had no refrigerators, no modern hygiene standards, and their concept of fresh is entirely different. You'd think you're in for a night of gastronomic adventure, but you're actually about to experience a taste of what life was really like in ancient Egypt. And that's all before dessert. But what's this? You see a bowl of dates and figs, looking inviting and familiar. You'd think it's like a modern snack, with a sweet, fruity taste that's comforting and familiar. Maybe it's like a bowl of dried fruit you'd have with your morning coffee. Actually, it's your first real taste of something you recognize. You take a deep breath, ready to dive back into the world of the pharaoh. But here's the thing. The servant nods, and you realize that the evening is far from over. What will you discover next? You wake up with a stomach ache that feels like 1,000 tiny hands poking your insides. You think, oh great, I must have eaten something bad last night. But here's the thing. You didn't eat something bad. You ate like a king. You feasted on pomegranates, figs, and honey-drenched dates. You savored grilled fish and duck, seasoned with cinnamon and cumin. You drank wine that would make the finest vineyards jealous. So why the bellyache? You groan, reaching for your stomach as the servant approaches with a bottle of what looks like a strange, thick liquid. My lord, you must take this, he says, his voice urgent. It's the only thing that'll cure you. But you can't help but wonder, what on earth is in this stuff? And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, he whispers, it's a secret elixir from the priests of Heliopolis. You close your eyes and let the potion work its magic, but here's the kicker. You start to feel worse. Your stomach churns, and you feel like you're going to throw up, but you can't. You're stuck with this concoction swirling around in your gut, feeling like you're about to explode. But probably not. You're just about to burst into a cold sweat when you hear the servant say, this is what happens when you eat like a noble. You get the best of everything, and the worst of everything too. You lie back on your plush, yet uncomfortable bed, trying to figure out what just happened. You ate like a god, but now you feel like a peasant. You had wine, but now you're feeling like you've been hit by a mule. And that's all before breakfast. But here's the thing. You can't stop thinking about what's next. Will your next meal be better? Or will it be the worst yet? And that's when you realize everything changed when you stopped eating like a commoner and started eating like a noble. You're no longer just a person. You're a walking, talking stomachache with the fate of your digestive system in the hands of ancient priests and their dubious potions. But probably not. You're just about to find out. You're just about to find out. You wake up with a groggy sensation, your tongue thick and your breath reeking of last night's feast. Your stomach twists and turns, and you suddenly realize you can't quite recall what you ate last night. Your servant rushes over with a pained expression, holding a small cup of something that looks like muddy water. Here, master, drink this, they say. But here's the thing. You gag, feeling the liquid burn your throat. You feel like you're about to throw up, but your body doesn't seem to want to. Your throat feels raw and your head spins. You try to stand up, but your legs feel like jelly. What is happening? You mutter, looking around for answers. However, the only thing you see is the shadowy outline of your servant, who looks just as perplexed. Your servant offers the vial again, explaining in hushed tones, this is a secret remedy to keep your stomach calm and your mind clear. But here's the thing. Your vision blurs, and you start to see things you can't quite place. Is it a fly dancing in the air, or are you hallucinating? You try to focus, but your eyes want to obey. Your servant approaches with a worried look, but you can't make out their words. All you hear is a distant, muffled noise. You're on the edge of consciousness, and it feels like you're falling into a dream. You feel something cold and wet on your forehead, and you can't tell if it's a cool cloth or just your imagination. Your body feels heavy, and you struggle to keep your eyes open. However, it's like trying to hold back a flood with a pebble. The room is filled with a strange, sweet smell, and you wonder if you're dreaming. Your servant is talking to someone else, but you can't make out who it is or what they're saying. However, the tone of their voices is urgent, and you can feel a sense of unease. The room feels colder, and you start to shiver. You want to speak, but your voice won't work. Everything is happening so fast, and you're powerless to stop it. You start to wonder what's really happening to you. You think it's just a bad reaction to the food, maybe some kind of food poisoning. Maybe it's a rare illness they haven't diagnosed yet. However, what nobody expected was, you can't tell if you're dreaming or if this is real. Your mind is playing tricks on you, and you can't tell what's happening next. You're trapped in a nightmare, and you can't wake up. However, everything changed when you're on the edge of something big, but you can't see what's coming next. All you know is that you're not safe, and you're not alone. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, the door creaks open, and a figure steps into the light. Who is it? And what are they here for? You can't tell, but you know one thing for sure. You're about to find out what happens next, but the room is silent, and the figure hasn't moved. You're frozen, and you can't look away. But the truth is about to be revealed, and you know that whatever it is, it's going to change everything. But the truth is about to be revealed, and you know that whatever it is, it's going to change everything. And so, after all this indulgence, you find yourself pondering the aftermath. Your body, once a mere vessel for the day's activities, is now a landscape of excess. Your stomach churns with a peculiar mix of contentment and unease. The food has been exquisite, a sensory overload of flavors and textures. But the real revelation comes when you pause and reflect. It's like stepping into a dream world, where every luxury is there for the taking. But here's what nobody expected. This opulent lifestyle isn't just about living large, it's about living long. You're in a unique position, blessed with the finest of everything. Your diet is a testament to the wealth and influence of your noble status. And yet, the hidden connection lies in the irony of it all. You'd think all this indulgence would be a ticket to an early grave. Maybe it's a ticket to a life of endless feasting and decadence. Actually, it's a ticket to a life where every meal is a delicate balance of pleasure and responsibility. This isn't just about eating like an Egyptian noble. It's about the unseen consequences of such opulence. It's a life of luxury, but also one of careful calculation. And that's the strangest part. Not that they live this way, but that we forgot they ever did. Now, as the night deepens, the air is filled with the soft whispers of the past. You're left with the quiet realization that beneath the grandeur and the gold, there was a very human struggle to balance pleasure with health. So, close your eyes and let this secret unravel. Because tonight, as you drift off to sleep, you'll carry with you the quiet wisdom of a bygone era. And perhaps that's all there is to it. A life of excess, a life of restraint, and the quiet peace that comes from understanding the balance between the two. But the real question is, what legacy will you leave behind?